Hello and welcome to Digital Talk Podcast, the podcast where we share stories with the wider community of how digital technology and telecoms can do good. Join me, Ian Ginn.
And me, Frankie Spagnolo, on our Discovery series as we talk to our guests and find out about themselves, what motivates them, and help celebrate their projects and achievements.
On today's episode, you'll be getting to know a bit more about my co-host, Frankie Spagnolo. This is part 2 of a 2-part podcast. So if you haven't already, make sure you listen to part 1 to find out what she wanted to be when she was a teenager. What's a book, movie, or song that has significantly influenced your perspective of life, and in what way?
So I'm going to go on this question with Little Women, the book, Louise May Alcott. When I was very young, maybe 6 years old, I was given for my birthday a set of gorgeous leather bound, those early childhood novels, Little Women, Black Beauty, Swiss Family Robinson, all of those. And of course, I read them all, and getting this set instilled in me my love of reading. But Little Women in particular, because at that point I had just gotten my second baby sister. So I was now a big sister 2 times over. And the first time I became a big sister, I was only 19 months old. So I had no comprehension of it, right? Really. And so I really related to the sister relationship in that. And I also related to the spirit of Jo and the feeling that she needed something more than what she was in. And because she hadn't experienced it, she couldn't really define it. And she also felt bad that she needed something more, because she wasn't that she felt better than, or it just was there. And that was a very real thing for me growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, and being a big sister. So that book really, shaped my early childhood identity in those ways.
Interesting. Well, I hope your sisters appreciate that.
You'd have to ask them.
So. If you're given opportunity to colonize Mars, but could never return to Earth, would you take it? Why or why not?
Well, these are the kind of questions that I can answer with my philosophy. Be brave, be brilliant, be bold. So my initial answer would be yes. I would then consider the context and the capabilities of the time frame in which this was happening in to determine whether my answer of yes really made sense for me as an individual. And then I would do it.
Wow.
And if it did, right, then I would do it. Be brave, be brilliant, be bold.
Right, okay. Well, enjoy your journey. What's one piece of outdated technology you're oddly nostalgic for, and what's the story behind it?
I would get nostalgic over about the idea of everybody still being on horseback in horse-drawn carriages and that sort of thing.
You're just down the road. You can join the tribe.
Certainly. And I see it all the time, right? When I'm at the farm, and they do, in addition to modern public transport. So basically if you have to, you can travel individually yourself, but in a horse with a horse and a carriage.
Interesting. What's one technological advancement you're eagerly anticipating in the next decade, and how do you hope it will change your day-to-day life?
I want technology to allow us to look each other in the eyes again.
Right.
And so I'm looking forward to the advancement of sensory capabilities, things like holograms and space activated sound, where the computing device on the human's body is a trigger and exists, but isn't required to be out in order to engage with our environment. And while that's not all certain to happen, because at the moment we are looking at chairs that envelop us in virtual reality and, all of this sort of deeper into the individual isolation of the current design of technology, which I think is, for me personally, is very scary. I think when we kind of predict out those horror scenarios of AI, it's because we've cut ourselves off from each other, right? Because of this isolation that kind that kind of stuff can happen. So I'm excited, and that kind of stuff happens with batteries, right? Like you can't just have a whole bunch of tech all over the place that can trigger if you have to charge it all the time. So the advancements that we've seen that AI has helped discover in the battery material, these kind of exponential advancements. I also personally am very, very excited about quantum computing. And again, what that will unleash, because I think that all things unknown are just what we haven't yet been able to define by science. And really, science is magic, and magic is science, and so what's beyond is magical to me. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about what it could be, should be, what I hope it will be, all of it.
Interesting indeed. Can you tell us about a time when a technological failure turned into a valuable learning experience for you?
Again, this is going to go back to my childhood and kind of nostalgic, older school, vintage technology. I have a static electricity in my body that, especially in vintage technologies, could break it. Like the VCRs my dad had access to bring things home. He was this public school teacher, a science and math teacher. So he had access to bring home tools that the schools got. And he was a very innovative teacher. So he pushed in underprivileged schools. So he pushed for grants to get things like computers before they happened. And I had to learn, you can't just touch things, right? Be brilliant. You can't just touch things because you don't know anything about it. And most likely you're going to blow it up because you have so much static electricity in your body. Yeah.
So your own little power engines, I think. Generator,
100%.
your own generator, that's the word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I didn't know really then, right? But I certainly know it now. If you want to product test your product, guys, send it to me. And between my static energy and my capability to drop things, we'll be able to tell you whether it's
understand. Shockproof.
Market ready.
Drop-proof and shock-proof. That's it.
Right, Frankie-proof.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
What's a piece of technology from a science fiction movie or book that you wish existed today, and how would you use it?
Okay, so I am also going to ensure that this happens. But the jewelry from Black Panther that is able to project holograms and be accessed by voice and sound, that is something that I wish existed. In fact, I've been wishing and working on making it exist for almost a decade.
So what's this?
Now.
Maybe you can elaborate on this. What did you say? Jewelry? You said jewelry.
Yes, it's a piece of jewelry. And I know that we have the smartwatches, but listen, this is the smartwatch that we wear today is the same one that was in the 1992 Dick Tracy movie with Madonna. I mean, we give Apple all these praises for design, but really there's no design difference. We're all still carrying around rectangles and wearing rectangles, and it hasn't changed. And so yes, I'm very passionate about this, but my answer is the wrist technology in the Black Panther that is embedded into the princess.
So what can I do? I can wear it then as a bracelet or something. What could I do with it?
Yeah. Yes, you could wear it, and on your wrist, you could project things. Like if I wanted to show you a totally shallow use of it, but some YouTube cat
Right.
video, I could engage with my computing device,
Right.
wherever that was, through my AI assisted voice person, whoever you use, Siri,
Right.
whatever. And it would just turn my wrist over. It would pop up and holographically show us what we would then be bent over looking at on our phone, right? Which brings me back to the advancements are about being able to look each other in the eyes again and coming up from the mobile phone. Because if the eyes are the key to our souls, and soul is the key to humanity, then we gotta look up at each other again.
Amidst all the AI hype, how has your interaction with it been to date? And has there been a moment where it has already made a significant difference, impact in your life? What's your overall viewpoint on this topic, good or bad?
So that is quite a complex question
Correct.
there. I'm going to try to give some simple answers. One, I have been using an ChatGPT for almost 18 months now, maybe a little bit longer. I have been in the last 6 months, I'm building half a dozen of my own bots at the moment and training these bots through prompts. I am trying to work collaboratively with AI in my creative ideation process to make it faster in many
Mhm.
ways, and yet still tangibly mine in the IP of it, which I think is what's really interesting about where AI is in its form today, which will obviously change, right? I mean, brings me to what I think. So yes, it's having a tangible impact in my life today, and I use it daily, and I very much like it right now. I'm very much enjoying AI's help
And
in my
maybe you
life.
can't disclose all of them, but what you said you're training it to do what? What are you hoping that it sort of does for you? One or two examples.
Well, on the first basis is the very first one I started training was myself. I wanted them to understand how I wrote, the standards that I was going to ask for if we were drafting something. I am giving it more information and consistent. So I'm creating the bot to be and write and provide me responses in my personal tone.
Fantastic. Um,
So that's the first
mm.
one. There's other ones, but we don't need to go
No, no,
into
no.
them all.
Okay.
But I will.
Well, yeah, that'd be good. Maybe in the notes of this show, you can add some more detail if you'd like.
Yeah, we can talk more about it. But my viewpoint on it overall is that I recently learned about the Chinese room. And I think that if you have fear around AI, you should look into the theory of the Chinese room, further. And we will get information on that in our transcript below, and where you can go watch a lovely YouTube video explaining this. But it it demystifies what AI actually is and why it's never going, well, not never, because never say never, right? Why I currently am unafraid. It's like, yes, I believe that I can teach my dog to communicate with me using buttons. My dog does not know there is an alphabet. This is the gap that AI has. It has all the information. It understands how to give us the information back, but it doesn't, even though it can
Mm.
tell us there's an alphabet, it doesn't know there's an alphabet, right? And the Chinese room explains this
Interesting.
in a scientific and known and built upon, as far as AI
Mm.
goes, theory. mathematical theory, right? But I think overall it's good. I don't think it's something to be afraid of. I think that it's
Okay.
good. I use it.
But you're talking about generative AI, which is the way you've used it so far. I mean, that's
Yes, I
your
am
experience
talking
with it,
about
right?
generative AI.
That's
That
your
is,
experience with it so far, which was the question.
yes, it is my experience with it so far. I mean, where my knowledge and where my curiosity really is to understand what happens when the AI of the time meets quantum computing when it's ready,
Well,
right? And so this is where my curiosity around it lies, because
okay.
yes, I have a lot to
Yeah,
learn.
yeah, I think we all do, and it's an interesting journey. In the realm of sustainability, what tech innovation do you think holds the most promise for creating a greener planet, and why?
I always want the ultimate. It's part of the ADHD. It's never, you want something to be
Perfect.
perfect. But so there is no perfect answer to this. And for the sake of answering now, I have two things. I mentioned one earlier, something that AI, which I just spoke about, helped discover is this new element or whatever that's changing the way batteries can be made and how long they're going to last. This will have a significant impact, right? We're not going to see it necessarily in our landfills, but as far as consumer waste or for that consumers can relate to, but this will have a very significant impact, I think. But also, some of the bio materials for new construction, and because demolition, and I sit on the board of an organization called Repurpose. It's in Savannah, Georgia, and demolition is like 2/3 of our landfill, right? And so in this way, because that does have, so on both ends, what we don't see, this battery will, I think, really have an impact. And what we do see, I think, construction materials, building materials, the interesting biotechnology, concretes, and stuff like that. This really could have an impact. I don't know how fast, and I don't know what I truly believe as far as where the time is on our clock and what we have left, but I believe it's coming quickly, quicker than anybody really wants. That's for sure.
How do you define innovation? Will it now always be linked to technology?
Okay, so I define innovation as a new way of doing or making or using something. So the doing could be a business model, the making is obvious, right? And the using is also obvious. So I believe with innovation, there has to be a thing, whether that's the phone or the stove or Barbie going from being cardboard to being plastic. There were a lot of innovations in that, change. And I think that really, because of that sort of commercial nature of what I really define innovation as, because it is all those other things. It is outside the box thinking, it is pushing boundaries, it is asking questions, it is all of those things. It is need, right? Because, of course, necessity is the mother of all invention, right? So it is all of these things that exist in order to have innovation, but we don't turn around and say something is until like the whole planet has benefited from this thing, right? And so I feel like it has this both forward and backwards aspect to innovation in order for something to really be defined as an invention or innovative to a thing that existed, which is complex, And I think it always links to technology because of the nature of the thing, right? Even that Barbie thing, the technology of whatever those plastics were. And I'm sure putting her hair into their head required a manufacturing whatever that hadn't yet really or was being used from something else and needed to be innovated in order to, for this to happen. So it's a complex.
Yeah, I think lots of innovation is like evolutionary. I'm thinking of the transition you were talking about previously, people using horses for transport. And then, of course, if you look at the first vehicles, I'm not going to even use the word cars, they were basically coaches, where instead of the horse pulling the coach, it had an engine on the mount on the front, but it looked very much like
Right.
a horse-drawn carriage, but actually had some sort of simple two-tack sort of motor on the front of it. And
With the cranes.
yeah, exactly, and all that. So these are the sort of things when you look in time where you think things need to be invented. There was something ridiculous the other day. What was it? There was something really sort of very basic that had to be invented. I think like things like the envelope had to be invented.
Right. Post-its. Romy and Michelle, thank you, Lisa Kudrow and Mira Sorvino, right, who just did that wonderfully, but we'll never forget, like the Post-its.
Yeah, there's something with my daughter the other day, which I think I had to show. Well, I don't think if I asked my daughter, use a fax machine, she'd go, "What are you talking about, Dad? I've got WhatsApp, I've got Messenger or whatever. What are you talking about?" Well, that's a whole another ball game.
Well, those are some of my most favorite videos, to watch when really a millennial tries to use an actual map. Things that I am so grateful for, GPS, right? To be able to text so that you don't have to have a conversation with somebody if you don't want to. There are so many reasons. Penicillin.
There you go.
That knife at the beginning on my deserted island, it's a piece of technology. Flint and the compass, all pieces of technology.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. Yes, ask me another question.
Okay. What do you think is the most significant technology advancement in history? I mean, history is a long time. So, obviously up to you whether you want to curtail that and bring it forward or back in time.
Yeah, so I think my answer on this, I really just gotta go with the light bulb. I think electricity in our modern history, much like in 2,000 years, if they ask us, maybe this moment with AI or maybe the next with quantum computing will be another that just. But without electricity, none of it exists.
But if you'd been born 200 years ago, you would have actually invented it, right? Because with your static charge,
exactly.
you would have been the living embodiment of it. So didn't need anything else. You just touching people, just like.
The number of things I've invented before they came to market and then they came to market would really actually surprise you.
Are you an Apple or Android person?
Philosophically, I'm an Android person because of the industry and having to use both. I have become proficient at both and carry both on me. But in my heart, Android all the way.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for sharing insights about yourself, your life, your thoughts. I'm pretty sure our audience will find it interesting. And I think, as always, they're more than welcome to, write in and share their thoughts. And maybe it's even give some people something which they can treasure and think about themselves, looking at those questions and reflect on what their lives are like. So again, I would really like to thank you, Frankie, for your time and sharing that, and look forward to the next podcast as well.
Thank you for your time today and listening to my stories.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our new podcast. If you have any feedback from today's episode or know of any stories to be told involving digital technology in telecoms doing good, then please do let us know via email, feedback@digiteltalk.com. Also, feel free to send us a message on LinkedIn. It would be great to hear from you.
Before we go, if you've enjoyed today's episode and would like to support the podcast, Then don't forget to give us a follow and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Also, if you'd like to leave us a review or share it with your colleagues, it really helps us on the channel.
I hope you can tune in to our next episode where I'll be interviewed by my co-host Frankie Spagnolo. There'll be some interesting questions, some of them expected, some of them a bit crazy, but hopefully also a bit of fun. So hope you can make it and tune in. See you there.
Thanks so much for being a part of our audience today, and hopefully you'll join us next time.
That's all we've got time for, so it's goodbye from me.
And that's goodbye from him.
Bye for now.